Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so if you are interested in the Kanto Cup and you aren't rank 10 yet, or you just want to do the Kanto Cup because you like battling, well, guess what? Here is the most powerful Pokemon in the Kanto Cup. It's Hypno. And there's no real... it's honestly not a surprise. So the thing about Hypno is that in Generation 1 for Kanto, if you just put all Kanto Pokemon together, the thing is, Hypno is just so dominant because there's not a lot of things that check Hypno. Now, it's good that Alolan Kantos are allowed in this match, like Muck or Marowak, because if they weren't, nothing would stop this thing from running rampant. But you're like, oh, you know what? Hypno is weak to Ghost. Guess what? The only Ghost type has, and that it's weak to as well, Gengar. So Gengar is also Ghost and Poison. Guess what Psychic is good against? Poison. Do you know, if you've never seen how fast a Hypno deletes a Gengar or a Haunter in Great League, you probably haven't played that much Great League. But anyways, if you have, and you've seen its destruction, that means there's not a lot of things that check Hypno in Great League if it were not for the fact that Cantonian Alolans are allowed, which means we got things like Alolan Muck that Hypno is weak to. We also have things like Alolan Marowak that can Shadow Bone this thing to oblivion. There's a lot of things that... There's not a lot of things that check Hypno, but there's something... But Hypno kills a lot of things, especially with its versatility, its moveset, and it has really good stats. So the reason why Hypno is so good for Great League is because it has a very great move pool and really good stats. Look how bulky it is. Not only does it max out at near 1500, but it also has incredibly high defense and stamina, which means it's a fantastic safe switch and makes it one of the most powerful Pokemon in all of Great League, even if it weren't limited to Kanto. So Hypno's still been really good since Season 1. It's been a freaking monster, and it's been safe switching or destroying everything you know and love since the preseason. Anyways, Hypno is incredibly powerful. So Hypno also is Shadow, but Hypno, like I mentioned, has a ton of moves. You got Confusion, you got Confusion is what you want. Don't use any other move. Confusion's really good, generates energy quickly, and you hit things really hard. You got Shadow Ball, you got Psyshock, you got things like, you got all the punches, and you even have Focus Blast. Hypno is one of the most versatile as well as the most powerful Pokemon in all of Great League. And in Kanto Cup, it's a freaking monster. If you don't have one, guess what? You're probably already ranked 10 already. If you aren't, then you can use something else. But it's very likely you already have a Hypno powered up. If you do, it's going to serve you very well for the Kanto Cup. Now, like I said, a lot of you probably have this one powered up. If you don't have one powered up, it's going to help you long term. So if they had to make a cup that really restricted like psychic typings or something like that, a Hypno would be really good for that cup. So building a Hypno now means that you're going to have it's still going to be useful for the future. You can still bank on the fact that Hypno is probably going to be really good later on and for future seasons in Go Battle League. Kind of expensive to power up, does cost 50k dust, and it's around level 25, 26 to max out. So it's not too cheap, and the problem is, along with that, it's kind of hard to find. You don't really find Drowsies just like sitting around nowadays. Unless you get a Shadow one from Rocket Stops, then you might be able to still get a good Shadow Hypno. But Hypno and Shadow Hypno are both very, very powerful for the Kanto Cup. So remember I told you, what's the most powerful Pokemon in the freaking Kanto Cup? Guess what? It's freaking Hypno. Now, Hypno is extremely powerful, as you see here. The number one overall, very powerful lead. And remember I told you it's a fantastic switch? It's the number one switch. Actually, I think it's the number one switch in this entire meta. Now, you want Alolan. See, the reason you want Alolan's because Hypno actually has really big weaknesses. You got Marowak, you got Dragonair. Well, you're not really going to find a lot of Dragonairs around, but you got Alolan Marowak, you got Wigglytuff, you got Snorlax, but you know what? There's, like I said, with Alolan Sandslash, there are things that can check this monster. Now, you want Fireball and Fire Punch and Shadow Ball. Remember I told you Hypno is incredibly versatile? Guess what? It can have all 3 punches. That's why it beats Alolan Sandslash. You literally just Fire Punch it to death. Alolan Marowak is a different story, though. It does beat Hypno, as you see here, because Hypno is, you don't get the Shadow... It will get the Shadow Ball before you get the Shadow Ball. Let's just put it that way. You will die really fast. And remember I told you the Shadow variation? Shadow is actually really good too. Not as good as the original one because you do need that bulk. However, as you see here, you do beat a slew of things with the Shadow version. So if you do have a regular Hypno, I definitely recommend you use regular one versus the Shadow one. So as you see, Hypno is just really freaking good. The number 2 lead, I only have to search it. It's already there for you. Behold, it is incredibly powerful. And it gives you a lot of chances to bait or really switch or really take back matches or just win the lead in general. Now it's also a fantastic switch, the number 1 safe switch in the game. As you see here, number 1 Hypno and its Shadow counterpart are both in the top 10, and the regular Hypno is number 1. As you see, you destroy fighting types. It is freaking destructive. And you see what I mean by you want Alolans to be allowed? There's a reason you want Alolans to be allowed. Because there's no dark types in Kanto itself. Unless you add Alola. If the Alolan and the Galarian forms are available, that's really good. Because now Hypno, there's actually things that can stop Hypno. Remember we had this conversation? What would happen if Toxicroak... What would happen if you... here's Gengar. There's Gengar. Guess what deletes Gengar? Oh, Hypno. Look at that rating, though. Look at... Yeah. If you only had the ability to use Gengar and Haunter, Hypno deletes them in 5 shots. You lose every scenario if you don't have a shield or in the zeros. That's how big... That's how destructive Hypno is. So it's really good that we do have Hypno... that we do have these Kantonians to balance out the meta. Now in the closer, you have Hypno is incredibly powerful still. As you see here, Fire Punch and Shadow Ball still does take out a lot of relevant meta. So just Hypno's really good. You probably already have one already. That's why you're looking at this video. Because rank 10, you are likely already rank 10 watching this video. If you're not, and you're just doing it on Kanto, then Hypno's going to make it really easy for you. Because Hypno's a great safe switch. Hypno's a great league. And as you see, even very powerful as a closer. Alright, here's everybody's favorite part. The Matrix. Now, I put Hypno and Shadow Hypno here. And we got the whole Kanto Cup meta. And now here's the 2 shield. Now, when you run it, here's what you get in 2 shield. I totally forgot legendaries are allowed here, or the legendary birds. But as you see, Fire Punch is needed because you do have a lot of coverage. You still beat Charizard even with Fire Punch. That's when we say really good. As you see here, you beat a lot of things in this cup. I put Shadow Hypno 2 just so you're looking at whether or not you want regular Hypno or Shadow Hypno. So you have the decisions. So as you see here, Shadow Hypno does flip Alolan Graveler. I'm guessing with it's just Shadow damage and Punch damage. See here. As you see here, Shadow Hypno, yeah, it's... Let's see. Actually, you just Confusion it down. That's how strong Shadow Hypno is. So, Shadow Hypno, you do have to burn 2 shields, though, so just keep that in mind. And you only win in the 2 shields. So, Alolan Graveler looking pretty good in this meta. But, as you see, you beat Clefable, you you lose against Clefable, Dewgong, Dragonair. Dragonite does beat you. Or you do beat actually, on the other side around, you beat Dragonite. So, you do beat Dragonite. You beat Dragonite. You beat Golbat, you beat Haunter, you beat a lot of things. Of course, you're going to destroy Shadow Machamp, and even without Thunder Punch, you do beat Lapras. So as you see, you beat Lapras with both variations. It's just really strong. Now, this is where the whole Kanto thing, the Alolan thing comes around. Alolan Muck does beat you. So Alolan Muck is a monster, and it does check our friend Hypno here. If you had Gengar, or if you have Gengar, it doesn't look like Gengar's in here, but if you had Gengar or Haunter, it would, as you see here, Hypno and the Shadow Hypno, they wipe Haunter. That's no different for Gengar. So that's why the only check to Psychic, which would be Ghost, unfortunately, the only Ghost in Kanto has Poison. So that's why it's so important to have that Alolan Marowak and Alolan Muck around here, because it threatens Hypno. Now that you threaten Hypno, as you see here, you beat a slew of things in the 2 shields. And you do lose against some things, for example, like Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is a popular pick because Wigglytuff is also easily accessible. Wigglytuff has a Spotlight Hour during the Kanto Cup, so you can actually get one, use it long term, and use it for this cup. But as you see here, across the board, Hypno is really, really good. Checks a lot of things, and with Fire Punch, like, you don't even need Thunder Punch for a lot of moves. I think the only move that Thunder Punch would really flip is probably Alolan Sand Slash, but even then, you need, like, without Fire Punch, you probably would lose against Alolan Sand Slash. But even then, if you look here with Shadow Hypno, you still beat Alolan Sand Slash. Well, this with Fire Sludge. So, you need Fire Punch to beat Alolan Sand Slash. But with Fire Punch, as you see here, you still do really well against a lot of the meta, even though you don't have Double Punch. And Shadow Ball gives you that coverage against fellow Hypnos, etc. And it does heavy damage. So you want Shadow Ball Fire Punch so that you can do coverage. You could probably do Double Punch like with Hypno Shadow right here, but do note you do lose against opposing Hypnos, so you're going to have to be really fancy if you get the mirror. Alright, so here's the one shield. So the one shield you get... In the one shield, you still wreck a lot of Pokemon. It looks like Dragon Breath Zard. If you have the Shadow one, you destroy it. But, like, as you see here, it still does really well against a lot of the meta. There's not... Now, here's where you have to be careful. If you do get Hypno versus Shadow Hypno, you will lose it. That's why Hypno... Bulk really does matter as far as, like, coverage goes, and that's why Hypno's so strong. Shadow, yes, you get that extra shadow damage, but because you don't have to worry about, like, things like Toxicroak, etc., are the only Pokemon you'll see with, like, Confusion's probably going to be Gengar or Haunter. There's not really a lot of things that, like, you really need shadow damage for. Just use the regular one. Regular one works just fine. As you see here, the regular one has stronger matchups against a lot of the things you do. Of course, you're going to die to Alolan Muk, but still, you know, it's still, more bulk is good. More bulk is good. That's all you need to know. More bulk is good. Because you're still going to beat the same things, but more bulk is good. And now in the Zero Shield, that's where it gets interesting. So the Switch is where Hypno works the best because it has such positive match against a lot of things, and it can take shields. Now, if you go to the Zeros, as you see in the Zeros, shadow damage kind of flips some things. As you see, you win with regular Hypno against Dugong. You lose against with Shadow Hypno, you lose. So, again, like, it really just depends. I can see Alolan Graveler being used in this cup. If you want to use it, that is. I don't see any reason why you, like, there's not, like super importance, but you can see, if you want to be spicy, I say Alolan Graveler isn't a bad pick. It can be really good. So, like, Hypno does beat it. As you see here, in the closers where you lose against Haunter, because it will get to a Shadow Claw or a Shadow Ball, and it will take you out. Just barely, of course. Yeah, as you see here, just literally barely. Because one confusion you're literally one confusion from death. But other than that, Haunter, like I said, the closer is the most dangerous scenario. It still beats a ton of mons. Lapras, Shadow Machamp, Magneton, as you see, are still very, very powerful. And it does take out Mew. One Shadow Ball does eat Mew to the next dimension. As you see here, one Shadow Ball does 91 damage. And then with the subsequent confusions, you die. Mew goes down. So, like I said, Hypno very strong across the board. Now, the thing that's interesting is that Wigglytuff is really strong in this cup, so this is probably something you might want to look out for. As you see, you lose every shield scenario unless you're up a shield. So just be careful against Wigglytuff, because Wigglytuff's a thick boy and it will charm you down. So that's another thing you should watch out for in the closer. Other than that, as you see, you win a slew of matchups. And, it does very well. I like it. Like, you see me struggling to really key in about things that beat Alola. So the basis of Hypno is that it's going to beat, like, basically almost everything that's not a Charmer, or it doesn't resist confusion. As you see here, Alola Muk resists confusion. So does Alola Ninetales doesn't. It has Fire Punch. Well, Alola Powder Snow generates quick, so it makes sense why in the closer this happens. But as you see, anything that does, like, super effective damage, like Snorlax with Licks, with the exception of Haunter. It's really complicated how Hypno works, but just a general nutshell, lead and switch. Wins a lot of matchups, very good, great generalist, you want it. Especially Up a Shield, because Up a Shield regular Hypno actually beats a majority of the meta, except for Alolan Raticate and Alolan Muk, because these two resist your confusions. So, in other words, Dark types. So Up a Shield, only the Dark types will actually beat you. You beat everything else. Up 2 shields, I believe still the Dark types will actually wall you. But other than that, oh, you actually beat everything. So, never mind, I am wrong. So, in the 2 shield, the Alolan Raticate, like, Sim is close, but you beat everything in the meta. So, Hypno beats 100% of the meta up 2 shields, which is really good. No, that's stupid good. That's really... Are you kidding me? That's amazing. So in the 2-to-1s, up shield, you probably lose against dark types. Yes, you will lose against Alolan Muck. Lose against Alolan Raticate. You also lose against Snorlax and Wigglytuff. So it looks like there's some things that, like I said, Snorlax because it's thick, and Wigglytuff, like Charmers, because it's a Charmer, it will take you out. So just be really careful about Wigglytuff. In summary, 9 out of 10. So Hypno is really good because there are little checks that check Psychic. Confusion does heavy damage against a lot of the meta, as you see. And you do, even though you do lose against like things like Wigglytuff, which I could see coming out a lot. Wigglytuff, you lose against Wigglytuff, you lose against Wigglytuff, you lose against Alolan Marowak, Alolan Muck, and several other things. Alolan Raticate just wrecked your soul, but the thing about it is, regardless of those typings, Hypno is still really freaking good. So Hypno, very powerful switch. Very strong, very, very powerful. As you see here, in the 2 shield, which is its best position, which would be the lead and the switch, you beat so many things, and you pick up so many matchups. You lose 30 matchups, and the most notable is Alolan Persian, which I don't even know existed. You have Mew. Mew is another thing you have to look out for, because Shadow Claw does charge really quickly. Alolan Muck, like I mentioned. But even then, you have Lickitung, Raichu, Alolan Marowak, and it's just, you have Alolan Raichu, Alolan Marowak. There's not a lot of things that check it. Now, the thing is, the reason why I don't give it a perfect score is because I've never really given anything other perfect score than probably, unless it's like given to unless it's like G-Fisk, where it's like readily available and it's easy to get and it kills everything, or it's really freaking good, there's no way I will give something a 10 out of 10. Or if it's like Bronzor, where it's like so dominant that if you have one, and your opponent doesn't, it puts you so far ahead of the pack as long as it has shields. The thing about Hypno is that, yes, it's a 9 out of 10. Just look out for some of its matchups. As you see here, if you do lose against Charmers. So Charmers do give you a hard time, as well as Dark types. But it's still really good. You still check a lot of other relevant meta, which is still really nuts. As I said, you only lose 30 matchups in the 2s, but still, you're going, as you see, these aren't, unless you're facing, let's see, yeah, unless you're facing like pure Dark types or like Alolan Muck, etc. As you see here, there you still have like either pretty good ratings against a majority of the meta. So Hypno is really good. And the best thing about this is that you probably already have a Hypno already. So Hypno is already viable for this. It's a great mon. Really great mon. You probably already have one already, like I said, and you might be able to build one already if you do. There's a lot of other options other than Hypno, but Hypno is just really good. Don't be surprised to see lots of Hypnos in the Kanto Cup. Again, you probably already have one. Just have it sitting there, and you do want Fire Punch just so that you could cover Alolan Sandslash, etc. You can even beat, as you saw, Lapras with Fire Punch. So you don't really need Thunder Punch in any fashion because you don't have to deal with the Zoomer or anything like that. Anyways, you guys have a great one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like and please sub and like the video. But in other words, if you have a Hypno for the Kanto Cup, use it. It's really good. It will serve you very well, and it'll save you a lot of headache from looking at it. But again, just be careful. It's negative matchups, the Dark types, the Charmers, and you will do very well in the Kanto Cup.